Hi everybody, thanks for clicking on this video. Welcome to the beginning of my savings, budgeting, and YouTube journey. I am here to represent the hardworking, low-income single parents. On this channel, I experiment with different budgeting styles, savings goals, and I share the strategies I learn as I go. So if that sounds interesting at all to you, please go ahead and click the like button and subscribe to follow my journey. I want to go ahead and do my pre-payday prep. If you haven't seen my videos before, the pre-payday prep is something that I do the weekend before I get paid. So today is Saturday. I get paid on every other Wednesday. This Saturday, I'm able to go to my employer's website, find out how much I'm going to be paid, and then I can budget with that amount. The budget doesn't always stay the same by the time that I get paid, but this is a general outline of where I plan for all the money to go. I do a zero-based budget, so every dollar that I'm going to be paid with has a place for it to go. So I did my November budget, and this is the budget for the first week, paycheck A. So we'll see how it compares to that. Let me show you again, if you haven't seen that video. Here is my November budget projection. So this is what I plan on spending between the month of November. For me, based on the way that I get paid, the month for November goes from November 8th to December 5th. So I won't go into any more of that because I did upload that video. I will link it here so you can go ahead and take a look. Alrighty, so I estimated for the first paycheck, which I call paycheck A, to be an income estimate of $1,350. Now, when I went ahead and looked at my employer's website, I found that the paycheck will actually be $1,388. So a little bit more, which is always a good thing. So we'll start here with $1,388. Let me go ahead and label it like I usually do. Okay, $1,388. So we did explain that right now I have $75 in my main account. So on top of doing my November budget for the month, I also did a midweek check-in to see where I was from the last pay period. So that's right here. This is the breakdown from where I was as of last Wednesday. So it shows that, let me update this. So insurance came out, internet came out, groceries still has $20 left in there. So right now, we're here. So we have $75 in the main account still. In the bill account, we have $55. And then we have $42 in cash. So together we have $97. Subtracting the buffer from that means that we have $20 left in grocery. So as of right now, there's a little bit of money, I think, left in all of the envelopes that I have, my cash envelopes. So that's good. So what we've decided to do for this pay period, which is new, a new experiment that I'm trying, is that I'm going to leave the money, the $42 that I have that I was planning on sending it back to the bank. I'm going to leave that money in my envelopes, and then we'll just recycle it for the next pay period. And I'll explain some more of that in this budget. I'll show you how I decided to do that. It took a little bit of math to figure it out, but I think once I get used to it, I think it's really going to work out. It saves me a trip to the bank. It saves me from confusing myself even more from putting in the bank and coming out of the bank. I think that was kind of affecting my income expense tracking. So let's get into the new one. I wanted to go over that before I get into the new one for those of you who have not seen that video, but I do recommend going to take a look at the November budget and the midweek check-in. So since I've explained that, you'll see that I have $75 in the main account, and I said that I have $55 in my bill account. So I want to make sure I add that amount into what I have, into what I'm getting paid. So $1,388 plus 75 plus 55. Okay, that brings us to $1,518. Okay, so the only thing that's still left in the bill account that I need to use or may use, again, this is just an estimate to prepare for the following upcoming week. If I don't use it, it'll be considered rollover, and I'll find, a place to save it. But for now, we're going to expect to spend $20 more from grocery, right? So we're kind of tying in this week with the upcoming pay period. So that leaves us with $1,498, okay? And when we get to that $1,498, we have to remember that $150 of that is going to have to be left there for the buffers. So we want $75 in the main account and $75 in the bill account. So let's see what that brings us down to. $13.48. And for those of you that don't know, the buffer is just something that I keep in the bank account, or most budgeters keep in the bank account, in case there's ever like a bill that comes out that you didn't expect, or just something that's a little more than you expected it to be, so that there's no overdraft fees. At least that's why I have a buffer in there. It's not much, but it works out. And it also, I've been able to use it for things that I have to buy online and then either just replace it. And yeah, that basically what I did this week was I was able to use some of the bill account for something that I purchased online and just take the cash from my cash envelopes and put it aside. Instead of putting that money that's in the income envelope back into the bank account, we're just going to recycle that into the next pay period. So $13.48 will be the balance. $13.48 will be the balance. So the first thing that I take out, I like to start about right here so that I can spread out my expenses. So the first thing that I like to take out always is savings. $175. So let's start way up here because I know this can get out of hand. So for savings, we have $175, and I like to put the exact amounts for each item. So $100 goes into my main savings account. You guys have heard this way too many times, so I'll just let you watch. So the point is to get each of these separate categories down to a zero. We're going to zero everything out. So that leaves us with $11.70. Okay, the next thing that I take out is my fixed expenses. So I move some things around with the fixed expenses. I'm going to write them out and then I'll give you an explanation. Perfect. So that zeroes out. So let me explain to you what I changed from the November projection. So the only two things that I changed was the utilities and the student loans. So those were the bills that I was concerned about, and I planned on using sinking funds for these bills. So what I decided to do instead was just contribute the whole thing to utilities instead of taking anything from the sinking fund. And what I'll do with the sinking funds that I planned on putting back in the bank is just put those to variable funds. So again, this is just saving a trip to the bank. So you'll see from my November budget, I was going to put $61 from the paycheck, and then I was going to get the rest from sinking funds that I have saved. Same thing with loans. I have $85 saved. I was going to put it in the bank, add it to this $8 so that I can pay my student loans for the next 3 months, November, December, and January. So instead of putting money in the bank, taking money out, I'm just going to move those sinking funds over to variables. So it's all getting paid the same way. It's just a different way to move the money to save me some time and energy and calculations. So that is it for the fixed expenses. And I'll show you how I tie that into the variable funds as well. After fixed expenses, the next step is the variable fund. So we'll go into that. So for variable funds, now I'm taking $50 from the sinking fund. So I decided just to take $50 from the sinking fund, and we're taking $85 from the student loan sinking fund. Okay, so $50 and $85, that brings me to $135 that I need to move over to my variable funds. Okay, so, and then I also have that $40 from my income envelope that I was supposed to put back in the bank. Again, we're not doing that anymore. So that cash is going to go towards next week's variable funds. So, or next pay period's variable funds. So that means I have a total of $175 in cash that I'm going to move from sinking funds to variable funds. And then you'll see here that the plan was to put $250 in variable funds this pay period. I moved some of these numbers around, but the overall amount will still be $250 for the goal for variable funds. So since we're moving this cash back to variable funds, we don't need to pull $250 out in cash. We only need to pull out $75, right? Variable funds. All right. So This is how we're going to figure out this $250 for variables. And I hope you guys can follow this along. I hope this makes sense. It makes sense to me because I sat down and I did the math, but I hope that I'm explaining it to you the correct way. We're going to have $75 from this pay period going to variable funds, plus the $175 in cash that we're just going to be moving over. So that's going to give us $250. Okay. So of that $250, $50 is going to personal, $35 is going to home, gas is going to get $50. Dining is actually going to get a little bit more this time. It's going to get $50 because I am spending more than I should, so let's budget for more. Entertainment is going to get $40 because we are not spending as much of that as of now. And we do have the family fund in case we need it. So $40 will go into entertainment, and that leaves us with $25 for our miscellaneous sinking fund. Now, first, before we do anything else, let's make sure this all goes down to make sure this zeroes out. It does. Woohoo! So that worked out to zero. Basically, so what I also did, I decided to do was this $50 from utilities is going to go into the gas envelope. This is just going to help me when I cash stuff. So I like to plan as many things as I can in advance, if possible. Okay, and then $35 from the student loan is going to go to home, student loan sinking fund. And then the other $50 is just going to go to personal, or it could go to dining. It doesn't matter. It's just the amounts that matter. So student loan sinking fund. So again, that'll just help me when I am moving the money to remember what's going where and all the denominations work out. Okay. Actually, this comes all the way down here. So $250 total for variable funds. Perfect. Moving on, $249 minus the $75 that's coming from the bank account is $174. So the next thing that comes out is debt. So that's $50. That gives us $124 left over. So for debt, we're paying, we're paying a different amount in debt. We had to increase debt because now we have another Klarna purchase. So we're going to pay $58 in debt. It's $58 now because we have $7 extra for a different Klarna purchase that we're going to be paying on. And then I wanted to pay $36 for my credit card instead of $35. It's just $1 extra, but I hate paying the minimum. And when I did all my calculations, I had an extra dollar. So that's where that new amount came from. So let's make sure we calculated this right. And this is credit card, Discover. That's the only credit card that I have as of right now, except for a JCPenney card that I have not used in years that I need to use. Otherwise, they're going to close it, and we don't want that because that will mess up my good credit score. Okay, we're going to make sure this zeroes out. And it does. Woohoo! I'm very proud of myself, you guys. Just telling myself, I'm very proud of myself. I'm not perfect. I'm not doing everything perfectly, but I am always on a path to do better. And honestly, I just think that that's what matters the most. We're always too hard on ourselves. The world is hard enough on us already. So do your best and keep trying to do better. And if you're doing that, you're A1 in my book. All right, what's next after debt? What's next after debt? My always fund. So for the always fund, instead of the $60 we planned on the monthly, we're going to contribute $65, a whole extra $5. And that's going to bring us down to $51. Okay, so let's branch out the always fund. I feel like we're going to run out of room out of here. So let's do always fund up here. So for the always fun, I want to explain that I am trying to even out some of the envelopes. It just made more sense to either have even numbers or whole numbers, whatever you want to call them, just so that they're in the 5s or 10s situation-ish. You'll see what I mean. So for the always fund, I did want to take a look at my sinking funds tracker. I like to do this when I'm budgeting to see what needs how much or where I want to put more money into. These are all the different savings categories I have, which we call sinking funds. So they're all for different types of expenses. So my always fund consists of, as of now, which may change, these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. These 5 things. So there's a binder with just these 5 things in there that I always try to contribute to every pay period. Now the amounts are changing. I try to do $100. We can't do $100 this pay period. That's okay. We're going to move some other things around. So what we've decided to do is for kids beauty, I want to make that an even $200 with this paycheck. So we're going to add $36 to kids beauty to make it $200, and we'll leave that alone for a while. So that means next pay period, I won't contribute anything to child's beauty or hair. It's basically my daughter's hair fund. So the next thing I want to even out is my car emergency fund. Car emergency fund is right now at $185. So I want to contribute $15 to that. I don't know why sometimes I have the subtraction mark and sometimes I don't, but this is my brain for you. Hello and welcome. All right, that's emergency car care. And again, that's pretty self-explanatory. It's just for anything that comes up with the car. We all know we rely on our cars. So an emergency fund for the car is probably one of the most important ones that I have here, other than my automated savings account, which is here. Let me just, no, I don't need to do that. Okay, next, we're going to even out pet. Pet is at a weird $46. We're going to put just $4 in there and keep it at $50. Our cat is not that expensive, which is good. Actually, knock on semi-fake wood. I don't like to say that kind of stuff because bad things happen when you do. All right, $4 for pet. And then that leaves us with, well, $10 always has to go into water. So that one's always easy to do. So we put $10 into our water bill sinking fund every week, every pay period. $65. When I say week, just automatically know I mean pay period, because I don't get paid every week. I get paid bi-weekly. So instead of me always having to correct myself, you've been here for long enough, hopefully. You get it. All right, that zeroes out. We love it. Next, we have $51 to play with. So we already said we wanted to contribute to our succulent challenge and our sinking fund. We want to contribute every pay period to our succulent savings challenge. That is a priority savings challenge, meaning that I attempt to budget with it every pay period. Since I've decided to do that, I've been able to do it. So I want to keep that momentum going. One good thing to try to do when you're saving is to keep the momentum going. Try to make sure you're doing the same thing or more when possible, as much as you can. It really just helps, you get in the habit of saving. So sinking funds is the next thing that'll get some money. So we'll just put SF for sinking funds. $12 is not a lot of money. I know, I am aware. You know what? It doesn't matter. Something is better than nothing, always. So this $12 is going to go to sinking funds. $8 is going to go to my $8, my daughter's clothes. And that's, again, to kind of even out that weird number. This is why I love the sinking fund tracker. I made this myself, and it is helping me so much. She is now at, it will be $52. So she'll be at $52. That $8 is just going to bring her to $60. It's not a lot of money, but that's okay. She's good as of right now. And if she ever needs clothes that is more than that, of course, that'll just come out of my personal or whatever else we have. So that leaves us with $4 that's going to go into our electric savings. And that's a low priority one, kind of. You know, I would like to have enough in that, but we put in that whatever we can. That is for a remote starter, and it's low priority. I mean, when I really sit and think about my expenses, it's low priority. I can go out and start my own car. So I'm trying to be more realistic and harder on myself when it comes to what I'm considering priorities. So what's next is $39. Also a weird number, but that's okay. $36. Oh, nope. Wait. Okay. Leaves us with $39. So the rest of this money is going to go to savings challenges, and that'll bring us down to a zero-based budget. So for the savings challenges, like I explained, I always like to contribute to my succulent savings challenge. As of right now, the envelope that's due, or the block that's due, is $36. I call it a block. The section in the coloring book that's due of the savings challenge is $36. So this will go to the succulent savings challenge, and that savings challenge is going to be used towards a trip that we have planned. So next, the last is $4. No, what's left? $4, right? No, that's not right. That's not right. Something went wrong somewhere. Right here in the very beginning, it should have been $3 more. So let me just clean that up real quick. If you'd like to see a budgeter that writes neat and pretty, it's probably not me. I do try to show you at the end my budget worksheet, which is a lot cleaner. So you'll be able to see where everything is going, and that's how I'm tracking my closeout and all that good stuff. So this is why I do it twice. You don't have to do that, of course. So that brings us down to $42. So $42 will go to our savings challenges. Okay, so that means, oops, $6. All that to put $6 into our plant savings challenge. Don't judge me. That's where it had to go. All right. So that brings us down to $0. So let's go ahead and plug this into our budget worksheet. Make sure all the numbers work out. Before I do that, I like to color code my stuff. All right, now that is how I color code my pre-payday prep. I really don't know why I do it anymore, just mostly so that you guys can kind of, this makes a little bit more sense for you guys. I do have a different color coding system that I am changing now to for my budget, and you'll probably see that at my closeout. I'm just gonna transfer that information over to this sheet to make sure everything lines up and works out. So I did want to explain also the new closeout process. So I've already started November's closeout process. So I've realized the importance of your start matching your ending. So at the end of the first pay period for November, I will write in how much I spent. Same for B. We'll add that together and find out how much we actually spent versus what we planned versus the monthly budget. So we'll do that. And then these are the budget categories I put for each thing. So I want to make sure the budget categories that I have actually match my bi-weekly budgets. So I like to, what I'm going to start doing, I won't say I like to, what I've decided to do is to start to color code these as well. Actually, I don't think I need to do that again. Because I've already done that on my November budget. So when I need to look back at these, I'll know what categories fit which. So here's a copy of my monthly budget, just so that you know I've color coded each of these to put them in the categories that I want them to go into. So that wraps up a paycheck. I want to kind of review what we went over. So there's some changes to you know, using the buffer, the way I use the buffer, the way I'm going to close out. So there are some changes coming ahead. I hope the changes weren't too confusing. I hope you were able to follow along. So when I come back the day before payday to give you a final, see if I have any cash left over. If I have any cash left over in my categories, let me show you that. So I want to show you the difference between what I mean by the money that was supposed to go back in the bank and the cash envelopes that I have for spending. So this income envelope is for money that I used out of my buffer. So let's say I spent money online. I think this is about $42 is in here. So I spent that much out of my buffer. So what I would usually do is put this money back in the bank to replace it right then and there. What I'm going to start doing is just taking that replacement from the new budget. So next time that I get paid, I'll put that buffer back in if I need to use it over and over and over, just to try to keep a balance of $75 in there in case I need to purchase anything online. So that's that. So what I do is take the money out of personal or whatever category I've spent money in. Say if I bought something from the house, I'm going to take $40 from there, put it in this envelope and set it to the side because that's spent. Technically it's spent. It belongs to the buffer. Now I have money that's left in these envelopes. I spend these throughout the 2 weeks. Whatever I have left at the end of the pay period, so the Tuesday before that I get paid, if there's any money left out of what I've budgeted for, which there's still some money in here and I'm very proud of that. There's still some money in almost all of these except dining out, of course. So then I will decide where to put this rollover I consider, which is just basically extra money left over that will go into another form of savings. So into sinking funds or whatever I decide to do with it, I will make sure that they go into those envelopes. So we'll try to have some money left over. If it doesn't happen, that's okay, because these are already budgeted for. These already came out of the budget. They're already accounted for, so that's okay. But it's nice to have some money left over to go towards savings, because the more you compound in savings, the better. So I hope that kind of clears up everything if what I went through earlier was a little confusing. But I hope you watched to the end. That's pretty much it for me today. I appreciate you watching. Question of the day is, when did you start cash stuffing? Did you stop? Are you still doing it? Or if you haven't started, when do you plan to start? So I say when, looking for a specific date, because I know that goals, based on what I've been learning and trying to teach myself, goals should be as specific as possible. So if you have been interested in cash stuffing, I want to know when you have decided you're going to start. Are you going to start in 2024? Are you going to start sooner? I'm a big fan of starting as soon as you can. Like if I want to start something in the middle of the week, it's better for me and my brain to start then and there. Studies have shown starting on a Monday is good, but you know, I'm not the typical brain child here. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I want you to always remember that it is about progression and not about perfection. Thanks for watching, everybody. Happy saving. Have a good weekend. Bye.